Broadcasting to the United States, Canada, and Tokyo, Japan. This is the Rich Stevens Radio Network.
All right, I know it's been a while, but here I am, your buddy Rich Stevens. Thank you so much for being here and listening right now, whatever time it is, whether you're listening live or if you're listening to the replay at a later time or on iTunes or iHeartRadio. Thanks for finding the Rich Stevens Show. This is something I've kind of sat back a little bit and just watched, and now I just can't sit back anymore, and I want to tell you my thoughts on this whole coronavirus thing. And I mean to say thing, because it's exactly what it is. It's a thing. And before I even go into all that, I want to talk about something. Some people believe in coincidences. I personally don't believe in coincidences. I think there's always more to the story. I can tell you this, that right before this coronavirus hit, there were some big shot CEOs of companies that stepped down from their positions. The CEO of Disney stepped down. The CEO of OkCupid and Match and Tinder all stepped down. The CEO of Hulu stepped down. The CEO of brands like Bath & Body Works and Victoria's Secret stepped down. The CEO of Salesforce stepped down. The CEO of IBM stepped down. The CEO of Harley Davidson stepped down. The CEO of LinkedIn stepped down. The CEO of T-Mobile stepped down. The CEO of MasterCard, either he has or he's announced that he's stepping down. And just a few days ago, the CEO of Microsoft, Bill Gates, stepped down. And there's a lot more, but I want to stay on topic with the ones that I'm talking about. To me, it's very strange that they stepped down right before this entire scare even occurred. It's almost as if they knew that this pandemic was coming. I mean, it's not too far-fetched if you listen carefully. The stocks of those companies saw their biggest crash in recorded history. Worse than even the Great Depression or the big hit we took in the 2000s. The crypto market started following suit, and then governments started shutting things down left and right. How is this even possible? All because of the coronavirus. And this is why, and you may think I'm crazy, and that's fine. And I encourage you to call me, 305-707-7878, 305-707-7878, and leave me a voicemail, and I'll use your voicemail on the show. Or you can, of course, go to richstevensshow.com and contact me via the form there, via email. But here's the thing. This was a planned epidemic. And they needed a face for all the masses that follow blindly, like the sleeping sheep. You know, the majority. That's who are the sleeping sheep. And I believe that this was planned for decades with a lot of different viruses leading up to this big scare. I'm talking like, other epidemics like the Ebola virus. Remember what that turned out to be? Not much. But they had to prepare for this big finale, hence the coronavirus pandemic. And it's nothing more than a face, but every government is all over it. You have to think about this in real terms. The world is a one world government for the most part. But a lot of people are just too blind to realize this and see it with your own eyes. This is bigger than an attack on China as the global manufacturing hub that they are. This is bigger than an attack on one company like the United States, who just entered their largest economic collapse that will make the Great Depression look like a farce. This, my friend, is the forced introduction into a brand new era. Can you guess what it is? Well, I'll tell you. It's shifting everything to online. Because you've seen and heard, no doubt, all these closures of regular stores, businesses, restaurants, The only thing that hasn't closed yet is grocery stores. They're keeping grocery stores and pharmacies open. But what's going to happen when we run out of these pharmaceuticals that a good percentage is manufactured in China? And the question is, why isn't anybody talking about that? It makes a lot of sense because here's the thing. Do we really want people in China at this point touching our medications? And they do. And they do wear gloves and they wear protection. But are they always? You never know. Now, I had a terrible weekend because my mom was rushed to the hospital and I was with her. They gave me a mask that covered, it's probably the best mask I've seen so far. It covered my eyes and it covered my nose and my mouth. And then the nurse was in the room and she went with no gloves to fix the oxygen thing on my mother through her nose. So she basically touched her face without washing her hands and with no protection. So again, my point is, we're not taking all precautions, which we should be, because there is some reality to this, but there's a bigger picture that a lot of people are not seeing. I mean, there's people that are eventually, how long can you as a business owner keep paying your employees, or not even paying your employees, or how long can you afford to keep the doors closed without, laying people off? I mean, there's a scam going on here, and you can sit back and you can buckle in for this ride, which unfortunately is not going to be good for a lot of people. We've already seen that and see how it has gotten worse and continues to get worse. Now, there's a website called washthosehands.com, washthosehands.com, and it has a real-time meter of how many people have been affected by the coronavirus, and more importantly, how many people have recovered. And that's the weird thing that the mainstream media, they do a couple stories here and there about people that have recovered, but they're only scaring us with the cases and the deaths. And some say, I've heard every different argument, by the way, and we'll cover some of these coming up in just a few minutes. There's a lot of people that say, well, there's the percentage doesn't even compare to the regular influenza flu, and it doesn't compare to this and that and this. Well, here's the deal. Oh, and the funniest thing is how people say, well, my bottle of Lysol, my can of Lysol, which I've had in the house for 3 years, says it kills coronavirus. Well, let me explain that for you once and for all, is that there's been coronavirus for years. This is a different strain of the coronavirus. So you tell me. I mean, the principal conclusion is that our leaders simply do not take healthcare seriously enough as a United States security issue, a national security issue. And Congress, what are they doing? They're holding very few hearings on this particular topic, especially in the defense committees. And yes, I know the White House last year eliminated a top National Security Council position that was focused on this particular issue, which is weird too. How do you focus on an issue that you don't even know has occurred yet? And the hearings in Congress, which are pretty much bar none, it's very interesting to me because when it came to, anything to do with President Trump, they were the first ones. They had hearing after hearing after hearing, and then the whole impeachment saga, and then the confirmation hearings for judges and the different positions. I mean, they were always the first ones to do this, to waste our taxpayer money. And this doesn't matter what side you're on. Face the facts. They have wasted a ton of money with these hearings on topics that just, I don't know, we don't care about it, but apparently they do because they're wasting time. And I've said this before, we need term limits. The fact that these people are in Congress for 30, 40 years or more, I mean, think about that for a minute. Let me tell you the real problem. The real problem doesn't lie in the checks and balances of any governments anywhere around the world. The real checks and balances rely on the people of the world, you and me. Because here's the deal, viruses don't spread themselves, people do. And when you have Grandpa Jake or Aunt Sheila deciding about going on a cruise ship is a good idea when there's a pandemic going on, well, they might end up being victims of the virus. But the bigger question is, how many people have they spread it to before it happened to them? Like that moron in Palm Beach that flew on JetBlue. He was tested in New York, did not have the results, but he had all the symptoms, and he got on that plane with over 200 passengers, and it turns out, oh, the guy's positive. So he brought the infection or the virus, I guess the same thing, here to South Florida. Now, the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office and the state attorney are thinking about bringing criminal charges against him for what he did. He's also banned from ever flying JetBlue again. But that still doesn't help the problem. See, a lot of this we're creating ourselves. And the mainstream media is fueling to no extent. And yes, I mean, Fox News too. There's arguments on my Facebook page. If you want to friend me on Facebook, by the way, I'm on Facebook all the time, that says, oh, well, you know, the president, blah, blah, blah. It's not the president's fault. It just takes one selfish person to go out when they're sick, coughing on people, touching surfaces, sneezing like a dog, to spread it to many more people. It's not because of the lack of planning or government response that you blame this virus on or should blame this virus on or any other virus. I blame who should be blamed, and that is people. And this doesn't matter, and don't get me wrong, because this doesn't matter what your political affiliation is. Focus on what's happening and the solutions, and try to ignore all the BS, which I know is very difficult in itself. But here's the deal. Let me get back to the president thing. The fact is, President Trump had zero to do with this outbreak. He didn't cause this outbreak. China's reluctance to accurately report on it is the primary issue. Here's the thing. I know from firsthand knowledge, from somebody I know very well and trust, and I believe what he's told me, is that China, from the beginning, has not released the actual figures of how many people have the virus, how many people have died, and how many people have recovered. So I have to ask you, why? Why is that? Why do you think that's the reason? What could possibly be the reason? The best thing for the United States to do right now is prevent incoming travel from hotspots, quarantine travelers who may have been exposed. But here's the thing, ask yourself this. Listen, I grew up in New York, so I know the area well. I know New Rochelle. I used to live in Yonkers, a town over, city over. How and why did New Rochelle turn out to be the hotspot, even larger than Kirkland, Washington, as a place where people have the virus? I mean, you tell me, because I don't have an answer for it. There's a part of me that believes all of this is true. I mean, you can't make up people dying, although I guess you could, because we've seen that in the past for those that understand what I'm talking about. If you don't, then go online and look it up. There's so many conspiracy theories going on about this coronavirus. I mean, don't read any of it and don't believe any of it and don't spread it. It's bad enough that the panic is being caused. What the hell is that? It's bad enough that the panic has been caused and continues to elevate with the morons at Fox News and CNN and MSNBC and the people on Facebook who think they have all the answers and they know all this kind of stuff. But here's another piece of information that you probably don't know about. I'm guessing you don't know about this. The coronavirus panic has reached the Russian collusion hoax level. The coronavirus panic is what the media created, what they reached. It has now equaled the same level of irresponsibility that they have achieved during the Russia collusion hoax. And whatever President Trump supposedly did on the phone with that call to Zelensky, the new president of Ukraine, this is a fact, and this is where we are right now. This is outrageous what these people are doing. If you're going to include media in your life to avoid being lied to or fooled or misled, you need to have a more conscientious attitude about what you're seeing, what you're reading, what you're hearing every single day than you've ever had. And that, you see, here's the problem. That's just very tough for a lot of people to do. Coronavirus news is at a point right now where it's as bad as it's been. I've never seen anything like this. I don't care where you go. The headlines, the links online. If you just landed here from Mars, you would think that half of the world's population is gone and the other half has only a few weeks or a few months to live. And let's not kid ourselves. That's nowhere near the truth of what's actually happening here. That's why I want you to pay close attention and realize what's going on. I put together a quick list here of some of the things that have been brought out. The thing with Charles Lieber, he was arrested for connections to coronavirus in that Wuhan lab. He's the Harvard professor. It's kind of true, kind of not true. So it's like a half-half thing. There's another one that says a Chinese intelligence officer revealed the truth about the coronavirus outbreak. Not true. Other people are saying, well, every election year, there's a disease/virus that somehow appears. Is that really true? It's not. Then there's a train. There's a picture of a train with a big red circle around it that everybody's posting all over Facebook and Insta. Is the train carrying the COVID-19 virus? Why would people even think that, let alone make it up? It just doesn't make any sense. There's this story about the suitcase that China seized at Dulles Airport, which is in Washington. It was full of dead birds from China. So we, the United States, the TSA, seized that suitcase. Why would somebody fly from China with a suitcase full of dead birds? That's a true story, by the way. And here's the thing. You probably didn't hear about that because that wasn't spread as far as some of this other crap has been spread with this new coronavirus. There's the other issue. Apparently, people are saying or claiming, and these are unfounded claims, that China is looking to kill over 80,000 coronavirus patients. That's not true. But yet somebody posts something on Facebook and everybody all of a sudden takes it as gospel. And please don't keep posting these things on my Facebook because I don't have time for it, because it just doesn't make sense how you can believe some of these things that you believe. And if you think for one moment that this whole scare, and let's face it, it's a scare. If you think this doesn't have something to do with the re-election campaign of Donald Trump, you're out of your mind because you're not seeing right through the news media. And everybody's doing it. Fox, CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, everybody. They're all trying to scare the hell out of us. Why? Because it goes back to the old story, when it bleeds, it leads. This is the bleed. This is what they're doing. And I'm not taking away anything, and I feel terrible for the people that have died. They've died unnecessarily. They didn't have to die, because the part is true that there is some kind of virus going around and people are passing it to each other. But here's the question. Do you remember watching the news, say, a week ago, and they showed maybe 3-4 states in the United States? They all had the same map, and they colored the states in red. Then the next day, there were 6. The next day, there were 9. Next day, there were 20. And then the next day, it's all 50 states. This is spreading. How is it even possible that something, I don't care how deadly a disease is, a virus, a disease, same thing, how could it have spread that quickly? And then there's people that are talking about the Dean Koontz novel back from the 80s, that he predicted that that this would happen in this year. Again, partly true, but mostly not true. And then I even got an email the other day with a clip to a link to an episode of The Simpsons. I love The Simpsons. That they supposedly predicted the coronavirus outbreak. I mean, you have to realize what the word prediction actually means, because that didn't happen. And yes, in that case, there may be a coincidence, but there's a difference. People just need to learn I guess we need a new higher standard for the word or the term predictions. And then there's the other story that health experts actually said that there was a new coronavirus that is supposed to kill 65 million people worldwide. That didn't happen. There was a health exercise that was done here in the United States and around the world in cahoots with other countries. And it was all an exercise just to see if we are prepared for, something like this. So people took bits and pieces of that, mock exercise, and they put it together with reports that people are reporting today, and they came up and they said, oh, this is going to kill more than 65 million. It's not true. It's simply not true. Here's the thing. It's going to get a lot worse than it is now, and you have to be prepared for that. The big question is, why didn't Florida postpone the Tuesday primary vote? So many other states did. So that's interesting today as well, because today the polls are open. I find that very strange, because you have people that are going to be using the same pens, they're going to be touching the same papers, they're going to be looking at your light. I mean, all this stuff. It just doesn't make sense to me. And last night, the president, or yesterday afternoon, the president said there shouldn't be gatherings of more than 10 people. 10 is too much. But I don't know about you. I don't want to lock myself in a house and be in a house indefinitely, because that's just me. Now, I will tell you, and I know this is going to sound dumb, I have not been tested. Should I be tested? Probably yes. And the reason is because I have almost all the symptoms. I'm afraid to get tested because, remember, there's no cure. So I'll just go on thinking in my mind, and I'll just stay away from people, and I'm staying home. I didn't even get to visit my mom the last couple of days in the hospital because I know it's not safe, because she's older and more vulnerable. And I got to tell you, it was a terrible, rough decision to make on her behalf. Should we go to the hospital or not, knowing what we know about the hospital being, a huge petri dish? But thank God we did when we did. And I believe she's safe there. But in the ER, when that nurse adjusted her oxygen without any gloves, touching her nose. And I said to her, so I guess you're not taking this coronavirus too seriously. She says, of course I am. I said, well, then why did you just touch my mother's nose with your hands without gloves on and without washing your hands? She got mad at me. She looked at me like I was some kind of moron and walked out of the room. And yes, I probably should have reported her to the charge nurse, but I don't want to start any trouble because, unfortunately, my mom and I are both very good customers at that particular hospital. I just want you to have an open mind. Put politics aside for just a minute and think about everything that I've said. Be sure to share this podcast. Get a link wherever you're watching or listening. You might be watching, I don't know. And share the Rich Stevens Show and get more people talking about this, because this is the information that we need to get out. And again, here's the thing. Something's not kosher. There's no doubt in my mind. When this first happened, I will admit, I was one of these people that thought, this isn't real, can't be real. But then people started dying, and then it spread around the country as fast as it did. But again, ask yourself, why are there over 1,000? There's no airport in New Rochelle. There's not an influx of people coming from Italy or China or wherever. Think about that for a minute. Why did the president, I think I know, ban all travel from the Europe to the United States, except for the UK and, what was it, Ireland, I think? I can't remember. And then yesterday he changed his mind and said no travel from Europe at all to the United States. I get why he did it, but why did he keep them, those two countries in the okay list at first? I'm guessing it's because of relations, which we want to keep our good relations. I got that. I get it. But there's a lot to think about here. There's a lot to see. And people are falling for the crap. And that's the part that I have to sit back and laugh at, because I cannot believe that there are people that believe everything you watch on TV or listen to the radio. Everybody believes it. Oh my God. Anderson Cooper said that, 600 million people died. It's not always true. In television, like radio, it's all about the ratings. It's also about the company you work for, where they have a specific mission. This is not 1965 where Walter Cronkite looked into a camera and actually reported the news without any kind of commentary. Today, there is no real news. It's all about commentary. It's that person's opinion or what they're being fed by their bosses / producers / management. Just something to think about. Listen, I welcome your comments. 305-707-7878, 305-707-7878. Also, the website, richstevensshow.com, RichStevens show.com, richstevensshow.com. And the website I was talking about earlier, as I see I'm getting some texts right now, and you can text me at 305-707-7878, or you can call and leave a voicemail. People are asking the name of the website that I told you about earlier. It's washthosehands.com. Washthosehands.com. That's where you can see the real-time tracker from Johns Hopkins University. Very credible university, obviously, and very big on medical stuff. But when you see those numbers and then you hear the numbers or see the numbers on TV, you're going to say to yourself exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, something doesn't add up here. All right, that's it. I've bitched enough. I appreciate you being here through this entire show and listening. Again, don't forget to share the links, because then some other people can hear it and we'll get some other people involved and maybe get the word spread, okay? Too much of a coincidence that the president, who's been picked on for 4 years now, is up against this right now. Just doesn't make sense. Hey, listen, be safe. Don't sneeze on anybody. Don't let anybody sneeze on you.